Dear viewers, wherever you are, hello and welcome to this new episode of your program, Out of the Box. This is the second part of our discussion about theism versus atheism. This is a topic that is as old as humanity itself. Since the time of antiquity, humans have always wondered about the creation. How did it come to be? And is there a creator? Is there a first cause? And others had doubt. So between dogmatic and skeptic people, life has always continued to be the way it is today. But, a question that is very frequently asked by non-believers is that you believers claim that this God is all good, all caring, all loving, all just, all merciful, all compassionate. But is he really so? To shed more light on this question and much more, I'm really delighted to be accompanied by two people, again, who are not members of clergy and do not hold any religious title. They both are just believers, and they run different kinds of work. Our first guest is a pharmacist, and our second guest is a person who has history in media, and he is a writer as well. I will, like the Canadian whale, refrain from using titles, but definitely all respect is given to Dr. Hani and also Mr. Hassan Bayoumi. So Dr. Hani and Mr. Hassan Bayoumi, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for inviting us.
It's a pleasure to have you all. And again, allow me to use the Canadian way just to call you straight by name, with all the due respect, of course. So I'll start with a very classic question. And the way we'll run it here is that, again, I will ask one of you a question, and then the other person has the right to comment on whatever question I pose to the other. So starting with Hassan, and here I will play the role of the atheist, because the atheists are not represented here in this episode, and to play fair, I need to represent whoever is missing. So you believers tend to tell us that, as Muslims, you say that God is most gracious, most merciful, or most compassionate. And you say this every day before you do anything in your prayers and whatnot. And you Christians claim that God is love. And let me pose this question to Hassan here, how can this most compassionate, most merciful, most, gracious God allow such atrocities and such injustice, such oppression, raping, killing, attacking, ransacking, and all kinds of destruction and chaos that takes place in the world? To me, as an atheist, this can mean one of these different options here. Either this God is not all compassionate and all merciful like you claim, or this God is not as omnipotent and as omniscient. He's not as almighty and as all-knowing as you guys claim. Or, better still, there's no God at all. How do you answer to that?
Yes, I will start answering this question from my background in political science, and I will say that the problem discussing stuff like that is the definition. What is the definition of good and what is the definition of evil? Because most of the people either confuse the meaning or not even aware of the real meaning of good and bad or good and evil. So, you might have something good and you think it's bad or evil, and vice versa. You can think you have something bad and you think it's good. And there is a very nice story in the 1000 Nights and Nights story, the old one, it says that there was a king and his minister living very nicely, and the minister is very wise. And one time, the minister was always saying, for everything, that's good, it might be good. Then one time, the king had his finger cut, and then the minister said, it might be good. And then the king became angry, and he ordered the minister to be jailed. Okay, and time down the road, the king went out into the jungle to hunt. Then he came under arrest by a tribe that eats the cannibalists. You know, they
Yeah,
eat
so
the human
yeah,
beings.
cannibals, yeah.
Yeah. So when they prepared the king for him to be barbecued, they found that his finger is cut, and they removed him, and he learned that they don't eat people except they are complete, nothing missing from them. So when he went back to the minister, he said, okay, now I understand why did you say that it might be good that I lost my finger, but how come it was good for you that I jailed you, I imprisoned you? And he said, because if I was not imprisoned and jailed, you would have taken you with me, and they would have eaten me instead of you. So this story resembles or explains that it's the meaning of evil and good are relative, not fixed, not absolute. Yeah.
So
So I
now,
mean, yeah. So from that, you can't say that there is no God because there is this or that.
okay, so you answered this story maybe through like the question through this story, and again, like Hani Tofilis, if I ask you the same question again, like in Christianity, you say that God, because God so loved the world, he gave his one and only begotten Son to this world, and he gave his only begotten Son to this world, and then at the same time he would allow all of these atrocities, killings, and like, doesn't this contradict one another? Does that make sense to you?
On the contrary, because you have to understand that who does the atrocities? Is it by guidance from that what we call God? Or it is the human nature that a person has chose to be a killer, to be a robber, to be anything which is done badly. And by this way, it is done by the human being, not by the God instruction to that person to do those things. So when we look at those things together, God is all love. God loves everyone just to behave in a way that it is very. I know you don't like the dog, but you
No,
see,
no,
it's
I'm
too
fine.
love.
I'm
It
fine.
is. He's too loving.
He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
He's too loving. So, in any way, God Himself wants everybody to behave according to the brain He gave it to that person. The difference between us and the animals that we have a brain to think, and God gave us the choice. Either we use it according to His will, or we can use it according to the devil's will. The choice is in the human being. You're the one who chooses how to do those things. It is not by the guidance of God Himself. So don't put God in the point that God who is merciful, God who is forgiving, God who is loving to everyone is pushing you to kill other people. No, He's not.
Okay, so let me pause this second question here. Like, a lot of believers tend to exalt themselves and think that they are better than others because we believe in the God, and this God taught us all the virtue through his revelation and whatnot. But actually, believers are in no way better than atheists because we have a lot of philanthropists and benevolent people who give a lot of their time and money and for the welfare of humanity. and they're non-believers. Again, we have a lot of reformers, scientists, philosophers who are non-believers too. So, why do we need this religion of yours, really? Like, if a lot of, I don't want to say most, but a lot of the great people today in the world who are doing a lot of favor to us are non-believers. You're a man of science yourself, you know the value of science and medicine, and I believe you know that maybe a lot of the medications you are using as a pharmacist were made by non-believers.
How did they make them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the point is, you have to differentiate between the creator and the inventor. The creator is bringing something from nothing, which is creation, making things which did not exist before, or materials that did not exist before. The inventor using those materials to add them together to make a medicine, make two different metals together to make a car, make a rocket, make any invention which happens. But he does not start, that scientist, he does not start from vacuum. He does not start from no material. He has to have a material. And that's the difference between the creator and the inventor. God is a creator. Inventor is the one who takes God creations and improve it in a way that is useful to the human beings. Nobody said that a believer is better than non-believer in the behavior. The behavior is a normal human nature way. You're naturally, as a human being, have your own senses, have your own behavior, have your own way of living. This has nothing to do with your belief as much as it is enriched by your belief to behave in a better way. I'm not saying a better way than the atheist, but to behave in a better way than any other person, human around you. And that applies to all the religions, applies to all the humans. And the difference between believer and non-believers is believing in a creator or an inventor.
Okay, so let me take the answer of Hani here and go to yours, and again, we say that isn't the ultimate goal really of your religion and your God and whatever is the well-being of humanity? So aren't those atheists really serving your God better? And but at the end, according to your belief, in the afterlife, like, one will be tormented eternally for just not believing in your God. But I was the most useful person to people in this world. And the other lazy person, who was actually an ne'er-do-well, like good for nothing, he will last an eternal, ecstasy. So how, what kind of justice is that? What kind of a God is that?
Yeah, I like very much the way you formed this question. It's very nicely done, and I will answer it in detail. But I just want to go back to something that you mentioned, that there are philanthropists from the atheists and the non-believers, and I want to tell you that there was a major report in one of the big newspapers, I guess, or magazines, about the fakeness or the fake of those philanthropists. They don't give their money for real, they take it back. So just to mention this. Okay, so we go back to the answer.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I have to comment. We cannot say this about.
No, this is proven. This is proven. Even Bill Gates, for one example, he one time said that he will let go on 90 something of his wealth, and it didn't happen.
But again, these are anomalies. but like the
Okay.
mainstream of a lot of philanthropists, we can see that they really genuinely do what they say.
Okay, I'm gonna stick to the question.
Okay.
So how you think that the atheist may serve God better than the believer?
Mhm.
And I would say again the dilemma of definition or understanding of the thing. So people confuse faith and deeds, belief and deeds. There is a big difference between being a believer and what you do, or an atheist and what you do. So an atheist or a believer don't serve the world, don't give any gain to the world. They are the same. He doesn't believe, I believe, it doesn't make any change in the world. What makes the change is the deeds, the work. So if an atheist invents something or finds something or develops something and I don't, definitely he will be better than me on that level. Okay? On the other side, a believer, if he is a true believer, he would know that the creator doesn't want him, he didn't create him only to worship him. Yes, the main reason is to worship him, but worshiping entails a lot of stuff that he has to take care of his life. He didn't bring you here in this life and told you just sit down at home or in the seclusion and worship me. No, you have to live the life and go in the life and develop the life, make achievements, make production for life to continue. Otherwise, life will never continue. If everyone stays at home and worship God the nice way he likes or he believes or he thinks, life will not continue. So there is a difference between faith and deeds.
Okay.
Yes.
And would you like to add anything to what Isam said?
Yeah, just very simply, I would say that we always believe in one very simple sentence.
Mhm.
A body without a soul is dead. The same as a belief without acts is dead.
Mhm.
So don't tell me that the inventor of the atheist who invented things that's helpful to the humans will go to hell, and another one believer didn't do any good deeds or acts will go to heaven. No, it will not happen. The non-believer or the atheist will go to wherever God will take him to, and that's according to his own choice, not the choice of God, but the choice of the person who didn't want to believe.
Yeah.
But the believer who did not do good deeds and good acts and help the community and help the society with a better going in life will not go to heaven too.
Okay, so it's not just
It's just not because you believe you will go. No, it's not automatic.
okay.
No, you believe and act. You believe and behave. You believe and continue in your life to improve.
So basically, you should practice what you preach. You shouldn't just preach things and not act upon them.
No, I'm not only your teacher. I'm your teacher and your example too.
Mhm.
If it is not going that way, it will never work.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
can I add something here?
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so just to finish the answer, I just lost it at that time. So the atheist, whatever he does of good inventions or production or anything, it will not help him in terms or in regard with the accounting and the day after when when he goes back to the creator, that will not help him. So because he didn't believe in the creator in the first place. And this is a very important point here. But the believer who, let's say, didn't do exactly what God asked him, he has a chance maybe because he believed, but he didn't do enough. But he, in the first place, believed in God, whatever the
Okay.
God is.
We will get to this point, actually. This is a very important point
Yeah.
here. But let's stop with our dear viewers here and watch this short report about the most basic questions that we're discussing in this part 2 of our discussion about atheism versus theism. Let's watch the report and then we'll resume our discussion. Atheists say that while most religions say God is perfectly good, all-knowing and all-powerful, but on the other hand, the world is full of evil and bad things that keep happening. Therefore, this can only happen if God was unwilling to prevent evil, which means he is not all good after all, or that God does not know evil, and in this case, God is not omniscient or all-knowing, or God cannot prevent evil, and in this case, God is not all-powerful or omnipotent. With regard to the creativity of creation and its fine details, atheists see that all of this can be explained by science and mathematical equations without the need for a God. Atheists argue that believers are in no way morally better or more useful to society than non-believers. Atheists also see that religion was frequently used to hypnotize the masses, to serve tyrants and clergy, and oppress women and minorities. Atheists believe that religion has miserably failed through the ages to solve mundane problems. Finally, atheists see that much of what was mentioned in religious books and sacred texts is inconsistent with modern science and logic. Dear viewers, after watching this short report, we're back to our discussion again. And now my question is to Hani, and I want to ask you again, like many wars and, torture, enslaving, and killings happened in the name of God and were supported by clergy, were supported by men of authority in religious organizations. And these are established facts. We cannot deny them. We cannot say that they didn't happen because, for instance, if we talk about Christianity here, for example, Pope John Paul II, at the beginning of the millennium, he presented an open apology with regards to the Crusades, to the enslaving, to the Inquisition, and many other things, again, that happened in the name of Christianity or in the name of the Catholic Church. And lately here in Canada, again, we had Pope Francis. He came and he apologized for the mass killings that happened in the schools,
residential schools,
exactly, of the First Nations, and for the mass graves and so on. He did that by washing their feet and and so on, like following the example of Jesus and whatnot. So these did happen. Things did happen. So, but somebody might say, hey, come on, are you trying to tell me that Pope John Paul II knows the gospel and knows the teachings much more than the previous popes? They were his mentors. Come on. He knows more than his mentors, and because we're talking about these behaviors, they lasted for centuries. Are you trying to tell me that all those people were just, they were misled, or they just lost their steadfast path?
Well, the answer in the words what you have said. Those things are done in the name of the religion. They are not done by the direction of the religion. Like Christianity didn't say go and kill. Christianity didn't say go and rape. Christianity didn't say go and slave the people and take them under your arms and make them your servants, and you will live in a better life than them because they don't believe the same way you are. But all of those things have been happening, or it was done by normal human beings. It doesn't matter what's their authority in the church, because they have been human beings, and the human beings are known to make the good and the bad. The problem is in the teaching in the old days. Usually people are two different kinds: leaders and followers. And if the followers believe so much in their leader, so much in a point of trust, they don't even go and check what did this leader had said. So if they say that it is written in the Bible, in the verse, in the book, that go and kill those people, if they are smart enough, they can go and check, and they find that this guy is misleading them. But because most of the people are followers, they say, hooray, he's right. Let us do those things. Those are available in those books. But in the fact, they were done in the name of the religion, not by the push of the religion. So there is a big difference in this.
And some, again, we see a lot of terrorist groups that would, like wage wars, and they would come and attack, like innocent people, ransack villages, burn it. And they would say that they're doing this in the name of God. They're following the scripture, they're following the Quran, or they're following, the sayings of the prophet and whatnot. And can we just say that those went astray? Is it as simple as that? But all of them went astray. Come on, they know the scripture. A lot of them memorize it by heart. A lot of them are scholars even. They're not only just laymen. No, they're scholars, and some of them have very high degrees as well in Islamic studies and whatnot. So do you really believe that all those people went astray, or do they really have something that they can base their actions upon?
Yes, I guess that the answer comes from your words again. They say they don't. They claim this is not a fact that they be like applying the real religion. They think that they are applying the real religion when they do that. And like, even if we take the percentage of the people who are doing this, it will prove that everything. Like, and this is also not only in Islam, if you're talking about me as a Muslim, but only in Islam. There is the Red Army in Britain, Christian, the Ku Klux Klan, and other gangs in the US, for example. All of them, they don't represent any percentage, a real percentage from Christianity or Islam. So you can't say that they do this because of the religion. But the right thing is to say that they do this for other reasons. The major one of them is that they misunderstand the religion, if anything, if they have any religion. Okay, so the problem here doesn't go to the religion itself. It goes to the misinterpretation or misunderstanding of religion.
Okay, so if we move, the question is for you, Assam, here now. Like, if we move to the political side again, it's another established fact that nobody can deny, that religion was very frequently used to hypnotize, mesmerize, patronize the masses, and have them follow tyrants, dictators, and to be willing and accepting to be monopolized, and to be denied their basic rights, and again, even to follow corrupt men of religion. So, is religion here good or evil? It's a major vehicle. Is religion here good or evil? Like religion is one of the major ways to exploit the masses, to mesmerize them, to brainwash them. And this religion is the religion of God. So
yeah. Of course, if an atheist looking at this, he will not like it. But this is not enough reason for him to deny the existence of God. Okay? So I agree with you that religion has been misused and have been used in the wrong way from different religions, not only Islam or Christianity or in any other religion. And for many, many centuries, not now, not even 100 years ago, throughout the history, religion has been misused and was subjected to atrocities and crimes and everything. So the question again here, does this mean that the religion itself is bad, or the people who understand it, whether it's the minority that misuse it or the majority that follow, as you said, those who commit the bad stuff? So it's a problem that, in my opinion, it shows the existence of God, because I believe this is even away from the religion. This is the way of how God tests people against people. But I remember just now something, it's mentioned in Quran, that a way of one of the reasons God created life is to test people against each other.
mm-hmm.
So I can't, as I said before, you can't stay home and say I'm good. You have to be involved in life, and in life you will see the bad and the good, and then you have to accept and support the good and deny the bad and the evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So again, Annie, again, we as atheists and a lot of sane people would say that religion is really the opium of the masses. You just, try to make the masses high by your religious rituals and whatnot, but at the end you're just serving a tyrant, and you're serving a very pragmatic earthly cause, but you're just sugarcoating it with these beautiful verses or whatnot. But so, how did this religion of your God serve people? Actually, it helped oppress people and kill people and enslave people and exploit people.
Well, as I said before, we're not going to blame the religion, but let us just move the subject into one word or a definition of manipulation. You can use so many things to manipulate people. You can influence them by giving them money. They will follow you. You can influence them by giving them power. They will follow you. You can influence them by giving them jobs. They will follow you. You can influence them by giving them religion. So it is the human being who is manipulating the mass people by using one of those tools. So one of those tools that have been used was the religion. Not because the religion is the one pushing the people to do those things, but the manipulator have found out that there is a palatable taste to the people listening to him or to her or to them, in the way that put this in the name of the religion, not in the right context of the religion, just to manipulate them, that they can follow you and do whatever your wishes are. So it is the human being nature is the one who manipulated the mind of the people to make them change their way of perceiving a subject, a money, a job, an attitude, just to be used. And one of those tools was the religion.
Okay, so my next question is to you too. Again, you claim that God sent this religion, again, the Abrahamic religions, you guys are like, really, I'm sorry to say, I'm sorry if I might offend you, but let me be sincere with you. You're the cause of all trouble in the world. Really. Like, since you came, you started wars, like, crusades, jihad. You started fighting each other, killing each other. You started saying, you're false, and you started enslaving people and whatnot. Let's look at, okay, you are Egyptian. Okay, and let's look at ancient Egypt, for instance, or ancient Mesopotamia, or ancient Mayas, Aztecs, Incas, ancient China, whatever. For example, in, the Mani Papyrus of ancient Egypt, which is part of the Book of the Dead, there are some questions that you must answer with a nay or a, and in these questions, like one of the questions is, or one of the testimonies, and is, I did not pollute a river. Like, how? Isn't this like sublime, really? And they left to us wonders of the world. The Giza pyramids, the Giza plateau is not even the pyramids, like every single thing in the Giza plateau in the city of Luxor. The ancient Mesopotamia left us, we don't have them, but we know that there existed the Tower of Babel, which is even mentioned in the Old Testament. The Tower of Babel is an established fact by your religion, even. We had the Aztecs leave us the step pyramids, and etc., 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 etc. So we had queens. So there's equality between men and women. They had laid laws, everything. So what did you guys really add to us except chaos and killing?
Okay. So how many religions in the world now?
Countless.
Countless. And all of them believe that there is a power, which is a God.
Mm-hmm.
And that God at the end will come to be the same to all of those. But to the point is, I want to say it. When you look at the old civilizations who came before the known times of the Abrahamic religions, actually the pharaohs were in the time of one of those Abrahamic religions, because Moses was living on the pharaoh's lands. But the pharaohs themselves believed in one God. And even when they had too many gods, one of those kings came in and said, we have only one God. So all of the north, the south will believe in one God. But you have to know also that all of those history books, all of them are written by the winners. They have never been written by the losers. You will not find in the temples in Luxor, Aswan, or Upper Egypt that a story is written on the walls of those temples that I am the king, I was beaten by my brother.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it will say, I won the war against so and so and so and so. Mm-hmm. So it will be always written by the winner, not by the loser. So we can't say that all of their life was prestigious, easy, simple. We have in the stories that Moses killed one of the Egyptians, and that's why he went to live in the desert for 40 years. But this is also happening, that there was killing, there was stealing, and even it says when the Jews left Egypt, they stole all the money of the Egyptians. So it's written on all of those things. So it is not God who tells the people that you were living good before, and when my religion came in as a Christianity, you started to behave badly. No, but it's the human being who is behaving badly. But the religion itself is good.
But let's take, for example, again, sticking to Christianity here, because I'll be switching to Islam with Islam. So there's the story about Saint Mark coming to Alexandria, and then his meeting with Anianus the cobbler. And as he fixes his sandals, he hits his hand with a hammer, and then he says, like Thosasi Othor, like the one God. and then he's taken, he's baptized, and so on. So what did Saint Mark here add to Anianus? He already believed in God. Does it really matter if he is the, like the Holy Trinity, or if he's like Ammon or whatever the God is? Like, why do you guys make a big deal out of like your specific God? Like Anianus the cobbler was a very good guy, and even Saint Mark loved him.
Yeah, nobody said that he was a bad person. But the whole idea is you take the religion as a whole, not only because of one act or one behavior. Like, as you said, Christianity only rolls around the one sentence that you had said at the beginning, that God is love. And to that point, that God loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son to save the human race. And we know this, and this is the core of our belief. This is the way you build the Christianity around it. It doesn't mean that before everybody was bad believer, but this is always to improve their behavior to the ultimate goal, to be becoming good human nature race.
Okay, so I saw the same question again, but like, you have stories. So you say that, like usually there claims that, when the prophet came to the city of Mecca, for example, they were idolaters, and like, they believed in idols and this and that and so on. But nobody can deny that a lot of them were philanthropists. A lot of them were very, very generous people. A lot of them were very courageous people. A lot of them were incredibly courageous, incredibly honest, incredibly kind. And they did not worship the idol itself. They said, like, we worship the spirit that lives within the idol, and we just take it as a means to come closer to the one God, to the creator. So again, like, why do you guys need to make it so narrow? Like, why do you have this micro look at things? Why does it have to be your specific God? They believed in a God, and they were very nice people again. So what did you guys really add?
I agree with you. Actually, the Arabs at that time had high ethics and high morals, that they wouldn't even intrude into a house without taking a permission. And this has a story, of course. There is no time for it. But yes, they had very high morals and ethics. And this brings us to the main idea. What is religion? What is religion for against the atheist? The atheists believe that there is no need for the religion. And we believe that, yes, there is a need for the religion. And then we discuss what is the religion. Religion, as Prophet Muhammad said, that he didn't come to make the religion, or with the religion, to make people pray and make the rituals of standing and sitting and fasting, and that's it. No. When he came, he said, I just came to perfect the high standards, or the best standards of morals. So it's not about rituals, it's about morals and ethics. And when God created the universe, or human life on earth, as we believe, as believers, we believe that God didn't let his creation astray. So ever since he created humanity, there were messages and religions. So if you speak about good ethics and good morals and good behavior in the older times, before the Abrahamic religions, that's because the line of messages of prophets didn't stop at any time. And some people consider Adam, or the first human being on earth, to be a prophet himself, not just the father of humanity. And ever since, every time a prophet comes, people behave for a while, a decade or two, or a century or two, then they forget, they start doing bad stuff, and God sent new religion, new message with a new prophet, and new religion. Sorry, not new religion, with an updated version of the religion, because God told us in Quran that all the religion is Islam. Everything is Islam. Everything God came from God is Islam. But because in the old times there is no real study or good study of the history, we don't know exactly what was the religion, let's say, in old India or old China. Although some people confirm, or I don't know if confirm, think, some people or some researchers, historians, think that there were messages and messengers in those parts of the world, and from there came, or even in Egypt, old Egypt, and from there came the good and the high morals at that time that we miss now, because we are not committed or following religion, our religions, to the point, to the right thing.
Okay, let me tell you this other question here again. It's about, like God is the, omniscient, he's the all-knowing, and he's the creator of knowledge and science, he's creator of the universe. But again, if we look at scripture, there are a lot of contradictions between science and scripture. And again, a lot of scientists were persecuted and, and oppressed by religious authorities throughout the ages. A lot of scientists, a lot of thinkers, So how is it that the creator of the universe would send a book or would send a revelation that contradicts creation or contradicts science? And why would he allow the oppression of scientists? Like, scientists should be the ones closest to the God.
Yes. Yeah. Let me see first that because we believe Quran, the book of Islam, is the last message from God to humanity, we believe that there is no any chance for imperfection or wrong or errors in Quran, and it doesn't collide with science so far. But on the contrary, everything science comes up with is proved or mentioned in Quran, and there is a lot to mention that has been mentioned in Quran for 15, more than 1400 years ago.
Let me just stop you with a very quick pause here, because the argument, I'm sorry, like here, me representing the atheists, I have to tell you that I'm sorry, what you're saying is absolutely not true. What you guys do is you simply tweak the meanings to fit the new scientific discoveries. So you try to change, like it happened. If we read the interpretations of different verses and different parts of the Quran, or even the Old Testament and the New Testament, we can see that the interpretations of the same text has changed over the ages.
Okay, if you go with this argument, sorry, go ahead.
So if you change it according to, because you're trying to tweak it and twist it, by hook or by crook to make it fit science. Okay. But in reality, if we just take face value of the words, no, it contradicts science. But when you guys play around with it, yes, it fits science.
Okay, so I'm saying if you go with this argument, then you will not even believe in science itself, because there is nothing like sacred then. If the religion is not sacred, science is not sacred too. And just to give you an example from the miracles in Quran that has been proven scientifically and with no turning around or playing with words, the waters of the oceans and seas don't mingle, they don't overlap. So there is no chance to play with the words in this thing. Scientists has proved this scientifically. They saw with their own eyes that it doesn't overlap or don't overlap. So there is no chance for playing around with this. And there is a lot of, I can't even remember or mention all of the examples. Okay? So the fact is that the atheist can even stand a chance in arguing with this. Or else, as I said, we don't believe in anything, not even science.
Okay.
So I was going to other points. I forgot them.
Yeah. So it's again like the whole notion again of you say that your book goes hand in hand with science, but it doesn't really. Like you're making it. You are making it go hand in hand with
This is
science.
what you say, or the atheists think.
Yeah, but originally it doesn't happen. And I want to go to.
I give an example that it does, and it
Okay.
can't be refuted. I give an example, it does, and it can't be refuted.
Okay.
And there is a lot other. Yeah.
But again, okay, let's go to Hani here, and let's take a different perspective. So you guys frequently say that there are a lot of metaphors here, and Jesus talked in parables. So you don't take the literal meaning. So if he gave, for example, the parable of the sower and, like the seeds and so on, it did not really mean the seeds, but it was just giving an example, trying to give a metaphor, and so on and so forth. So let's go to the book of Genesis, for example, the beginning of creation. Now, the book of Genesis tells us about the serpent. It says the serpent. Okay. So later on, modern interpretations will say, no, that's only a metaphor. Where did this metaphor come from? I'm sorry. Like, why didn't your God just say it's a metaphor clearly? Like, why does he mention this serpent? And this serpent talks, like, is this a super serpent? What is this? It doesn't make sense to me.
Of course it was a super serpent. It has to be. No, the whole concept and idea is books, when it's written, are written by the human beings, written by guidance into the brain of the person who writes, through God putting those ideas into the mind of the person to write. So the person who's writing knows that other people are going to read. So it has to make it simplified to the person to read. Like, he can write something different than the serpent. He can write an owl, for example, came to Eve and made her think that way. And it all of those, as you said, in the Bible, God has spoken with so many parables because he's speaking to lay people, simple people, mainly farmers. So as you said, the seeds and the crops and things like this, just to make the subject near their way of thinking and near their mind, that they can comprehend the meaning of those things. So the way it's written for you to understand it, not written literally the way it is. Like, it said that this tree was in the center of Garden of Eden. Have they measured the right and the left, north and south, and this was exactly the central point? No, but it was in the middle of the Garden of Eden.
But like, just again, we can go forever, but again, for example, like something like the fig tree at the walls of Jerusalem, for example, like, it's a fig tree. It's just a fig tree. Okay. But no, it's not a fig tree. Actually, it refers to the sons of Israel. It refers to the old and the new. Where did he get this from? Come on, like, why isn't it just said plainly? You guys try to philosophize everything to prove that everything here makes sense. Come on.
What's wrong with the fig tree? Like, why those things in the mind of the atheist make a big difference in the written and the way the book is written? It doesn't give you the right that to criticize that book because it's written that way to make it easier for the person to understand. This has nothing to do with the religion itself. But to find the reason that you want to criticize, it's easier to criticize. But what's inside the meaning it's easier to comprehend and understand.
Okay, so let me ask you this next question here, and this is a very frequently asked question. So if we take, for example, like things like Sodom and Gomorrah. So Sodom and Gomorrah, they were punished for committing, they were sodomites. Today we call those people sodomites, referring to Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, I give you that. But like within the sodomites, there were children. They're innocent people. And so why would God punish them like that? And another thing again is like you mentioned here, and let me be fair this time again, because we don't want to sound as misogynists or like against women in any way. So I'm posing the question to both of you. So both of you will have to answer to women for this one here. Like, why again is religion usually against the weak? So usually religion is against the weak. So against women. So it's Eve, the source of the problem. Again, Jesus would cast out the evil spirits in the swine, in the pigs. And Sodom and Gomorrah would come to the ground with innocent people. And then the wife of Lot, she is the bad woman. And so what kind of religion is that? It's a very racist, misogynist religion. It's against children, it's against poor animals. Like, isn't this God just capable of like punishing the sodomites, period, the people who committed the sin, and leave the others free?
Were there others?
Probably.
Okay, if you read the whole story, it says that God was so lenient in that story that he went to and told him, go outside into the city and find me 100 good person, and I will not burn it. So he went and came back, and he said, because of your servant, to save him, you're going to burn the city. He said, I told you, bring me the number. And he said, I couldn't find 100. But if I find 50, will you save it? He said, okay, go out and find the 50. Goes out and come back. Found 50? No. But because of your servant, because you love him, can I go and find 20? Find 10? He told him, okay, go find 10. So he came back and he said, I couldn't find 10. So among all of this, he couldn't find 10. But also to mix all of your questions together, because your question has so many parts in it. At that time, the count was always the number of men, adults men. They never counted children. They didn't do the count for the women. Even in the census, they used to count how many men in that city, adult, or how many men living in that city, adult men. They didn't count the women or the children. Okay. So that also goes into that part why women were not mentioned into that census at that period, at that time, and why Lot's wife was punished with this, because she turned around, because her heart went back to where the sin is coming from. And that's why she was punished. So because God gave the instructions, don't look back, means as a meaning also, don't take it literally, and don't look back means don't look back by turning your head, but don't look back at the sin at that city. And we have to be politically correct about the sins in that time. So those people who were killed altogether, including the children, including the women, including the young ones, because God knows that this generation living in that city, even if they were young, not understanding what's happening, but it had been precipitated in their mind that when they grow up, they will grow up with the residuals of that sin in their mind. So to eradicate all of that sin completely, the eradication of the city was necessary. That's regarding Sodom and Gomorrah. What was the other part of the question? The
So I
women?
talked about, like, for example, Jesus casting out the evil spirits in
Yeah, to the animals.
swine. Yes,
To
like
the,
the
yes.
swine, the pigs. These are poor innocent animals. Like, what did they do? Why
Okay.
should they carry
What?
the punishment?
Okay. Who makes you think that you're gonna make a sin? It comes automatically from your mind, your way of thinking. Okay, I'm going to go out of my house to go to that store to rob it. All of those thoughts are in your mind. Why in your mind? Because you're a human being. You have a brain that has the ability to think and even to make the whole movie inside your brain before you leave the house. That kind of brain is not available in the animals. So when God take those evil spirits out of that person, doesn't want it to go to another person. He wants it to go to somewhere that it will not influence another sins going into it by going to those animals, and those animals can disappear because the brain of those animals will not be a fertile soil to that bad thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for your answer here. And Isam, if we talk about Islam again, like, let me give you some examples here. So, for example, like, when people from Abyssinia, they came to, to invade Mecca or to actually demolish the Kaaba, like the place of worship, and which was really very much revered by the so-called non-believers before Islam again. Those people were punished, and they were like, God supposedly sent birds from heaven, and those birds were carrying sort of volcanic stones in their feet, and they destroyed the whole army. But again, this army included a lot of innocent animals, a lot of innocent, like the elephant did not choose to demolish the Kaaba. The elephant did not choose that. Like if there were leopards or lions and so on, they didn't choose that. Come on. So why punish those people? Again, in some situations, there were some cities were brought again to the ground. The whole city. So it's not only the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. No, there are multiple examples that are mentioned in the Quran of cities that were completely wiped out. A city would include men, women, children, some people who are even completely impotent, some people who are like physically challenged. Like, why would you hurt all those innocent people for a sin committed by 200-300 people? Why don't you just punish those 100 people? Again, when God was punishing the pharaohs for disbelieving in Moses and not letting him leave with the sons of Israel and cross with them, trans the river Jordan, like they sent like locusts, blood, and many different things. Again, this was spread everywhere. Why not again just for the bad people?
Yes. We are talking now about if God is just and fair or not, right?
Yes, absolutely. And yes, like, why punish everyone?
Yeah, so as far as I know, for the example you gave about the Abyssinia people who came to invade Mecca and destroy the Kaaba, as far as I know, when torture came down to destroy the army of Abraha, who was the king of those people, the stones only hurt his soldiers and not anyone else. The people of Mecca were safe. Okay, and it's even said, if, as far as I remember, if I'm not wrong, even the elephant who was used as the spearhead to destroy the Kaaba was not killed in that stuff, and the people gave him an Islamic name after that. If I'm not wrong, I guess. But when God wanna punish, he knows he is punishing. And even if we think that there are innocent people or animals that were punished without a reason, yes, there is a reason, but God knows it. So if a kid, for example, have been killed because at this time they would go for invasion with even some women and some kids with them. So even if some women were killed or her kids were killed, God knows better what would have happened for them if they stayed. It might have been better for them to die on the spot and go to heaven rather than stay. Or maybe we don't even know. It might have happened that the women and children were saved. We don't have like a thorough study or historical record of everything that happened at that time. But if it happened, it's definitely for the better of the people who got this punishment, which we think that it was without a reason.
Okay, so it was for the betterment of those people. Maybe we don't understand.
Definitely.
Okay, so last but not least, and this is a very common question too. Like, you're a just God, you're all-loving God, you're merciful God, and all this rhetoric that you believers spread. Without me doing any evil, without me committing any evil, somebody is born disabled, poor, weak, a family with a very low social status, and not very nice looking, whether this is a man or woman. On the other hand, another person who did not do any good, is just his destiny, his fate. It's luck, really. It's just a lucky roll of dice again. The other person, she's born a very pretty woman or a very handsome guy, very perfectly physically built, whether man or woman, very rich, from a very high social class. What is that? Come on. Like, so for instance, if I'm this extremely handsome, rich, strong guy, or if I'm this very beautiful, rich woman, I can get the girl or the guy of my dreams just like that. But the other one, who's so they might be very faithful and they might be all sincere in their love, but nobody would look at them. They would look at them with disdain. So why, did this God bring those people to be heartbroken, just to suffer, while the others would enjoy everything? And yeah.
Yes, what you have just mentioned is known in the discussion or the discourse about atheism as the free evil, And there are thinkers who are really well known that took part in that discussion. So one of them, his name was William Trow. He took this as an example to deny the existence of God. But others, denied his argument, and one of them is Jane Mary Trow, and she said that you can't deny God just like this, and because you build what you say on a hypothetical idea, and because that right thinking entails that you first have to acknowledge the existence of God, because once you deny him, you bring him in. Like, there is another philosopher or a thinker, his name is Samuel. He said, if God was not in your heart, he wouldn't have brought him on your tongue. Okay? So this is to start that if there is no God, you will not think about him. So, and you can't deny God because there is evil. And we as Muslims, we believe in that, again, back to the idea of what is good and what is bad, that we believe that you don't know the good and what is the bad. And we are tested, combined by the good and the bad at the same time. So God told us that He will test humanity, not only Muslims, test humanity with the good and the bad at the same time. So you might have, let's say, $1 million, and then you go and buy something that's very fancy. Let's say an aeroplane or a nice car, and then you use this plane or car, or like the vessel that has just sunk in the ocean when they were going to see the remains of Titanic when they died. So when you think back, if those people come back, they would use this money, this fortune, this wealth for themselves to die. Was this wealth good for them or bad for them? So the meaning of good and bad is not really fixed. And we believe, as I said, that we are tested both with good and bad. If you get something good, you think it's good, it might be bad. If you get something bad, it might be good. And in all levels, you have to be patient and acceptable of what God tests you with.
Yes. Okay, so looks may deceive. It's more, you need to use your insight more than just see the facade. And yes. Same question for Hani Tawfilis.
Well, we always believe that God had given every human being certain amounts of talents. And you can use those talents as weights of gold. For example, you're holding those talents equivalent to those weights. That you can take it and hide it because God gave it to you. You want to keep it, you don't want to lose it. And when He calls your soul to come back, you come back with that weight He gave you and tell Him, here it is. You gave me this, I'm giving it to you back. Or you can take it and invest it in yourself. And He gave you 2 weights. You go and sell them and bring more profit, and you come back with 4 or 5. That means your good deeds. And you go back to God, you said, you gave me 2, I'm giving you 4 or 5 back.
There's a parable for Jesus that's very similar.
Exactly the same.
Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, the ugly woman, and I will say a woman, nothing wrong about this, or the ugly man, the ugly woman might have a pure heart. So a man who looks for the beauty only might end up marrying one which will cause him lots of problems. But the man who's looking for the pure heart might be getting the ugly woman, and he will have a safe, beautiful life for the rest of his life. But all of those weights are different according to what you will use it at. You can use your beauty to attract people to come to God. You can use your good heart to give more gifts to the poor, to the needy, to the other people. It is not only by the looks or by what you have or where you were born or why you were born poor or why you were born rich, but you can be born rich and you lose all your money and became poor, or you can be born poor and you improve yourself and become rich. So it's you who will decide which direction you want to go to be.
Yeah, really at the end here, I can only thank you very much for being with me here today and for this very fruitful discussion we had here. Many thanks to Dr. Hani Tawfilis and many thanks to Mr. Sam Bayoumi. It was a pleasure having you, and really looking forward to having the pleasure once more. Thank you very much again for being with me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And dear viewers, if we were to come to a conclusion or to recap here, humans, since antiquity, would always exalt themselves above all other creations and think that they're the supreme creations and they're the rulers of this world and universe and whatnot. But what is the essence of, this supremacy of humanity, really? Where does it really originally come from? Because if it's physical, like a man is not stronger than a lion. A lion is, many, many times stronger than a man if we're talking about physical strength. And, any kind of impala or like, any kind of deer or like antelope or whatever is many, many times much faster than a human again. So where does the supremacy come from? Its supremacy comes from his mind, and what is the essence again of this supremacy of mind is morals, is standards, is virtue, when to do things and why to do things. And imagine that I tell someone that you are my best friend for life and so on and so forth. And then after I shower him with all the beautiful words about how incredibly important he is in my life and how much I cherish every second I spend with him, after the conversation is over, I take his phone and break it in two halves or just go out and burn his car. So people might think that I have a mental problem or like there's something wrong with me. So again, if a believer says that they love their God, so, but how is it that you love your God but hate his creations? Because this God of yours that you believe in, you know that he is omniscient and he's omnipotent too, and he's almighty. So definitely he would know, for example, that Dr. Hani is a Christian and would know that Mr. Islam is a Muslim. But does he deny any of them any of the rights at all? Does he give water to one and does he quench the thirst of one and leave the other one thirsty? Or like, does he satisfy the hunger of one and leave the other hungry? No, it doesn't happen. So he knows this, and he can change it if he wants, but he doesn't. So it's the unconditional love. So like if he gives you this unconditional love to all his creations, and I'm not talking here about humans only, but about animals and beasts and plants and whatnot. So same thing for you too. So how come you say that I love my God, but I hate him and her and him and them and they because they're this and that? Like you're just telling your God in another way, God, you don't know what you're doing. I'm correcting your word for you, God. Or I go and pollute the river, or I go and cut the trees, or I go and kill the animals or hurt the animals that were created by God. So I think that the real essence here is humility, and to be, the meek. And the essence of all sin in all religions is vanity, love of oneself. Like the first sin or the first original sin, whatever you want to call it, came from vanity. And this was the essence of everything. And in religions, again, what is really, really, people are commended for being meek and being humble, not for being strong or being rich or whatnot. And but if I'm a believer and I'm a ne'er-do-well, I'm useless. I hate everyone and everything, and I kill people, destroy things, and destroy animals and plants and whatnot. So what use am I to people? So whether atheist or believer, like I think what we've always needed is morals, because we've tried throughout the ages to exalt ourselves above the others, and because we have a different race, we have a different ethnic group, we have a different color of skin, different religion. Where did this lead us? Chaos and more chaos. So it's about time to end this insanity and resort to real virtue. Dear viewers, until we meet again, I hope you have a very pleasant time. Thanks for watching.